All right, what is going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. Thursday, June 4th, 8 a.m. on the dot. Hopefully, everybody's having a good start to their day. Cheers to you, whatever you're drinking. I had a cup of coffee, got a cup of tea. Kind of ready to go today. All right, we got a lot to get into. No guests today. Unfortunately, one straight hour of listening to me yap. Obviously, looking forward to seeing a lot of everybody's comments. We'll get this as interactive as can possibly be. Appreciate you guys being here on this Thursday. I'm going to give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on. Obviously, we got game one of the NBA Finals last night, so I'm going to hit on game one. And then we got a bunch of Laker topics that we can kind of tie into the mix as well. Let me give everyone a quick rundown here. Knicks take game one. And they look pretty damn good doing it. We're phenomenal in the second half. And now all of a sudden I'm worried about, Spurs Nation, which I'm very heavily invested in. We'll get into the game. We'll talk a little bit about, obviously some of the things that we saw. I thought role players play such a big role. Some players that stood out, some players that I thought did nothing. So we'll get into all of that. Are the Spurs in trouble? I'll be honest with you. I got some sound here from Victor Wembanyama that will play. Got some sound from Brian Windhorst. Got some sound from Mike Brown that will play as well. In a weird way, I kind of think the Spurs are in trouble. I know it's just game one, but damn, you cannot lose game one at home, especially if you're the young team, especially if you're the youngsters. So we'll talk a little bit about that, what the rest of the series can look like. Are the Spurs in trouble? We'll get into that as well. Laker predictions. Let me tell you what's going on right now in Lakerland, Laker world. Everybody now is starting to kind of make predictions of what they think the offseason is going to be for the Lakers. Eric Pincus broke down a full thing, bold predictions on LeBron, Austin Reeves, and other free agents that have been tied around the Los Angeles Lakers. I saw a Khobi Price that is basically putting together free agent targets for the Lakers to go after. Everyone now is starting to make predictions. And by the way, we're really not that far away from NBA free agency starting. I mean, the draft, Eric, do me a favor, just give me the draft date. I think it's June 23rd, June 24th. So it's going to be kind of, and this is the beauty of what the NBA has done, is they have really just kind of built a Goliath in regards to how they separate from when the finals ends to getting to the NBA draft, from the NBA draft, how they get into free agency. And I think a lot of that, honestly, it's such an impressive thing that they've done, where it's not going to be long before teams are starting to try to make deals and everything else. All right, and let me see NBA draft. What do we got here? June 23rd is the draft. Like I've seen, what was it? The Bucks owner that's like, yeah, we got to figure out the Giannis thing before the NBA draft, or maybe said after. I can't remember, but it was right in that window. So a lot's going to happen between now and then. I saw something as well. LA Times was giving their thoughts on LeBron, specifically Bill Plaschke. Listen, yesterday I asked the question of, is it time to move on from LeBron? And I took a lot of people's opinions and thoughts and everything else, and we went through that exercise. LA Times writing an article about it yesterday as well. Basically, yeah, no to LeBron. I'm kind of starting to see a lot more of that. I'm seeing predictions. One of the predictions Eric Pincus gave us a while back was that he thinks he's going to go to the Golden State Warriors. Now, I still think he's going to end up with the Lakers, but it's a legit conversation. And, obviously for us, that's a topic that we have. And then you see other people start hitting on that topic. It's obviously going to be a conversation between now and free agency. I hate doing the latest on Giannis, because I think the Giannis thing is absurd. But there were some trade ideas with Giannis to the Lakers. I did see something in The Athletic that the Celtics could be a wild card for Giannis Antetokounmpo. So we'll keep that at that. I don't want to make too big of a deal of it, because I feel like Giannis has been traded 14 times in the past year, and he hasn't. He's still on the Milwaukee Bucks. So maybe I'm falling into that trap of covering some of it. Got a couple things around the NBA. Adam Silver addressed the media yesterday too, and then we're going to call it a day. So thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. I think just to kind of give everyone an idea for tomorrow, Wasn't I supposed to do 4 days a week in the offseason? I'm doing 5 days this week, okay? I think tomorrow. I got to confirm it, but Bobby Marks hopefully for tomorrow's show. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here before the show starts, and we will get going. All right, let's see what we have here. What are the people saying? What are the people saying? Morning, Slee. Good morning to you. Wemby not ready yet. Been a lot of Bron topics. A lot of Bron topics than Luka. Well, I mean, Bron's the question of whether he's coming back or not. It's not who the future is. Alan, if Jalen gets MVP before Luka, it's going to get ugly for him and his fans. All right, interesting there. Jalen Brunson, a little Jalen Brunson angle. Remember when Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic were both on the same team? You guys remember that? They're both on the same team. And Dallas was like, not on our watch. Not, are you kidding me? Absolutely not. We want neither one of these guys on this team. We have a different vision. All right, let's see what we got here. When that TikTok ran on the what was that? What are we doing here? Is that really a moment? Was that really an NBA Finals moment? Did some dipshit think, hey, you know what's a really good idea? Let me take my phone and let me just run out on the court in the middle of the NBA Finals, in the middle of a possession, so I could just get a quick pick with Victor Wembanyama. God, people are so thirsty for attention. All right, let's get the show started. Thank you very much for being here. Please subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. Tomorrow, we will be doing a member show. So if you're not a member, please consider it. $3 a month. There's a link in the description, and you can be a member. Probably 9:30 I'm going to do the show, actually. I kind of actually like doing it a little bit earlier. So 9:30, we'll do a member show tomorrow. Okay, so NBA Finals, I'm going to start the show off with the NBA Finals. Let's not pretend like, what the Lakers do with Jake LaRavia's future is more important than game one of the NBA Finals. So, I'm not trying to shots fired at Jake LaRavia for no reason, but I think you guys know what I'm referring to there. Knicks win last night. Man, I was doing my radio show yesterday, having a back and forth conversation about the NBA. By the way, if you don't know, do a show 3 to 6 out here in San Diego, 7:60 a.m. Okay, so real quick, I'm doing the show yesterday, and we're having the conversation of like, yeah, how important is this game for the San Antonio Spurs? Game one, I'm like, oh, it's critical. Yeah, you have to. If you're the San Antonio Spurs, you cannot F up game one. Like, you can't give the Knicks this momentum right out the gate. I mean, the Knicks are already the veteran team. Knicks are already the squad that a lot of these guys have been in the league 8, 10, 12 years. They understand the magnitude of the situation. They understand that they may never get another shot here. The San Antonio Spurs, people are looking at them and like, oh, Spurs are going to be in the NBA Finals. They're probably going to be in the Finals or the Western Conference Finals for the next 5 years. They'll be competing for a championship minimum, right? See, obviously, the health of Wemby and everything else. For the Knicks, this could be their best shot to win an NBA championship, period. Point blank. Like, you never know when you're going to win it again. You never know where you're going to get back. So I thought last night was so important for the San Antonio Spurs to handle business in game one. They go up 14 in the third quarter. And then I sit back. Like, right after that, I lit a cigar. I'm like, we did it, right? Still don't understand why I have this whole thing with the Knicks. I have no idea why I'm such a hater for some reason. Spurs go up 14, and it kind of felt like, all right, the game is going San Antonio's way. This happens in the NBA very often. It's like, hey, are you going to take that 14-point lead and you're able to get it to 16 and 18 and this thing's a wrap? Is New York going to find a way to get this down to 7 or 8, and then they can feel like they're in it? And one way or the other, there's going to be a run that happens. And I thought the Spurs kind of started taking some shots in some of their possessions, almost like maybe they're going for the kill shot rather than just, hey, base hit after base hit and basically just slowly take out the New York Knicks. Knicks went on a run, and once they did, there was kind of no stopping them, and they just look like the better team, period. Like, there's no other way to put it. It's not that San Antonio can't make adjustments. It's not that, this series is over. They're down 1-0, any of that stuff. But the Knicks look like a team, and the San Antonio Spurs looked like they had Victor Wembanyama, and everybody else was just kind of there. But none of these other players for obviously none of these other players for the San Antonio Spurs were really all that effective last night. And frankly, Wembanyama was just 6 of 21 from the field, so it's not like he did anything crazy as well. But I'm watching last night's game, and as the game kind of started going towards clutch time, and then at one point, Knicks go up by 8, and Wemby single-handedly brings them all the way back, and he gets the game down to 1. The Knicks just clearly had more players that were more comfortable in the moment. Let me put it this way. OG Anunoby seems fine with the moment. Jalen Brunson, guys, there's a few teams in the NBA, or there's a few players in the NBA that are just straight up killers. Jalen Brunson's a freaking killer. That dude could go get any shot at any time, and it doesn't matter what you're throwing at him. Obviously I could tell you that there's adjustments that the Spurs need to make, and why aren't you throwing a double team at him? There's plenty of things that they could do that I'm sure they'll apply. But the Knicks took over that game late, and it was Josh Hart on the defensive side in the rebounds, and it was OG Anunoby with some big shots. It was Karl Anthony Towns, who I thought was very impressive. And then you just had this freaking killer in Jalen Brunson, and the Knicks take game 1 on the road. That was just as big as it gets for the New York Knicks, and they got a legitimate freaking chance of winning an NBA championship. They really do. They got all the momentum right now. I will say this, just as I kind of look at the Spurs here for a quick second. I look at a lot of their players. It's like, they need more from Keldon Johnson. Maybe Stephon Castle's got to be, and Devin Vassell. These guys have to be more efficient, and guys got to step up, all that stuff. I look at one freaking player on the San Antonio Spurs, and I think you guys are going to know what I'm talking about here when I say the name. Where's De'Aaron Fox? Like, isn't De'Aaron Fox supposed to be the player that you traded for, supposed to be the second best player on that team, sometimes the best player on that team because Wembanyama is so young? And I mean, how much more are you asking for Victor Wembanyama to do? The man has to basically control one side of the floor, which he does, and then he's got to go on the other side and be the complete focal point on offense. Like, that ain't going to get it done. You're not winning 4 games against the New York Knicks if that's going to be the case. So, man, I go back to last night's game. It was fun. Enjoyed watching it. It was a really, really exciting game. I think they're going to kill it with the ratings, all that stuff. But the Knicks had 5-6 guys contributing, and I thought the Spurs really, there was nobody that was in any type of flow. Even Wembanyama was just 6 of 21 from the field, even though, I still think had a great game, just basically on the impact that he has defensively. But De'Aaron Fox, 7 points, 3 of 13 from the field. How do they win a series if De'Aaron Fox is not 18 points a night? Well, you're gonna try to put the load on Dylan Harper, who's 20 years old and has never been in NBA. This is his first playoff run ever. I don't think that's going to be sustainable. Give the Knicks a ton of credit. I got to be honest with you. They were very impressive. So I'm going to give them a ton of credit, and really impressive to see what they did. I got a clip here that I want to play. I'll play a couple clips, and we'll probably do this once I get a couple things, a couple clips that I want to play. I'll look at some of the comments, and then we'll start talking some Laker stuff. Mike Brown, I want to play this here real quick. Mike Brown was talking a little bit about the Knicks and kind of their mentality and what was going on during the game. And at one point, they made an adjustment, and it had nothing to do with anything on the floor. Take a listen to Mike Brown.
We were all bitching too much at the officials, and I'd say Rick Brunson was great. He told me to shut the hell up. Sorry, Mom. He told me to shut up, and or be quiet, and he told the rest of the team to be quiet, leave the officials alone. And it was great of him because we were all kind of losing our mind, and I did it. The rest of the guys did it, and it helped us put our energy elsewhere, especially in the second half.
All right, that's Mike Brown basically saying, I mean, how many times? I mean, I'll use a Laker example here. There've been so many games where I'm like, are the Lakers, they're more concerned about the refs than they are trying to figure some stuff out. I thought that was interesting, kind of a different type of perspective. It's like, yeah, they didn't even make an adjustment on the floor. They made an adjustment of stop looking at the referees and just play ball. Um, one question I would ask, I got some Wemby sound that I want to play as well. Basically more on how he feels and whether he thinks they're in trouble, basically saying that he's not worried. So we'll get this all set up here in just a second, but let me say this about the Spurs. And I do think there's a part of me, again, this is just somebody that's watching NBA perspective. I think they're in trouble. I really do. I think you're walking into a game 2 where it's going to be must win. There's certainly going to be pressure on a lot of these players. A lot of these guys have never been through it before, so I think that's going to be interesting. Eric, let's get that Wemby says he's not worried up. But I do think there's a piece of me that thinks that the San Antonio Spurs are in a little bit of trouble. I really think they needed to get game 1. I'm looking forward to some of the adjustments both of the coaches make because I think it's going to tell me a lot, honestly, about the San Antonio Spurs. Take a listen to Wemby.
It's obviously, I mean, it's not we've been down in a series before, never in the finals, obviously. But I'm not kicking myself about anything, really. I mean, I'm not worried the slightest.
All right, I'm not worried in the slightest. Okay. All right. That's Victor Wembanyama. That's his thoughts there. I think, like I said, do I think the Spurs are in trouble? Yeah, I think they're in trouble. I think they are in a must-win game 2 because if you go down 0-2 and you go back to the Madison Square Garden, can you imagine what that place is going to be? And he's just going to need a lot more help. I don't like from a Spurs perspective. There are a lot of guys I just don't think, we're there for them. Let's see what we got here. All right. At 7.5, 6 for 21 is not it. He needs to do more. He needs to not pass the ball if he's one-on-one with Josh Hart. I get it, brother, but let me tell you how they're going to win an NBA championship. They're not going to win just because of Wemby. Like, you can't have one guy do everything on both sides of the floor. That's why you brought De'Aaron Fox there. Devin Vassell and Stephon Castle and Keldon Johnson and Dylan Harper. They got a lot of young players too, but the way they played against Oklahoma, I was a little surprised by, and I think this would serve the Spurs well. Too nice with the New York Knicks. Like, they had almost this hatred towards the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I think they need to have some type of hatred towards the New York Knicks. Like, they got to muddy the water up too. Not that everything was pretty last night, but I feel like they got to muddy up the water as well. So I'm not sure that this is all just on the back of Victor Wembanyama. You need more players than just one. After last night, I'll take the Knicks in 6. Let's get another one here. It's just game 1. Not a big deal. I've seen this happen in the finals, and then OKC lost the series. Brunson has unlimited moves. Now, I think Spurs took game 1 against OKC. Unlimited moves. You're right about that. Brunson's 31 shots. I know, that's so funny. I did a little quick reaction yesterday, and the example that I gave was when I used to do the pregame show with MT, with Michael Thompson. Anytime, you're pointing out what a player did. If I said, oh, this player had 45 or this player had 55, the first question Michael would ask would be like, how many shots did he take? Listen, if Brunson's taken 31 shots, he should have 45 or 50 points. But here's where I'll give Brunson his credit. He took over late. Like, that's what great players do. I don't know if Jalen Brunson's a great player. I know that if he wins an NBA Finals for the New York Knicks, then you probably put him in that category. But great players take over late in games. He was phenomenal in the fourth quarter, and you couldn't stop him. So, yeah, inefficient, but, obviously there's a lot on that. Why do you hate the Knicks? Spurs have been the Lakers' rival for years. Yeah, but not this iteration. Like what of the San Antonio Spurs Lakers history since, like, think about how long ago that was, Lakers and the Spurs. No, I don't have a problem with good basketball. I don't have a problem with good coaching. I don't have a problem with, I think Wemby obviously has a lot to do with it, of why I got so much interest in the San Antonio Spurs. And I think with the Knicks, they're fans, man. I mean, is it just me? Mike, I get a migraine thinking of what could happen if they win. They're just never going to shut up. I don't blame them. If obviously they're able to win a championship, they should run their mouth. Obviously, listen, New York is just as good as it gets from a basketball perspective. But yeah, let's just say there's a certain style that comes with a Knicks fan. Brunson was big in the final minutes, though, so that overcomes some inefficient play. No question about it. No question about it. All right, let's keep it moving here. I just wanted to. I do think so. Just to kind of close this out here, I do think the Spurs are in some trouble. I think Game 2 is going to be just phenomenal to watch. You got such a young head coach in Mitch Johnson. Mike Brown's a vet, been in this league obviously for a long time. By the way, he's deserving of an NBA championship. Mike Brown's been in the league for a long time. Give him a lot of credit, and we'll see what eventually happens. But I'm so interested in Game 2 because I want to see how San Antonio reacts. I want to see how the other role players react. I want to see what adjustments they make. I want to see, is there something they're going to do different to Jalen Brunson? Are they going to be egging on some of these other players from the Knicks to be the ones that have to carry the load? So we'll see what happens, and I think it should be fun watching Game 2. So that's coming up tomorrow. Will be Game 2. All right, let's switch to some Laker topics. Let's get to some Laker topics here. Did I miss? Let me get this super here real quick. Is it me or Wemby doesn't have a post game? I think there are times where he's got good footwork, and there's some times where he could kind of, if you lean one way on his body, he's got the ability to say, all right, I got a little bit of advantage here, But I think he's just so big and so tall. I think part of his post game is honestly just churning around and shooting over you. So maybe it kind of feels like he doesn't have a post game, but I think it's more he's never felt like he needs to do something crazy. All right, let's keep going here. Let's go. Let's talk a little Lakers here. I want to talk, there are some articles right now that are coming out that I think are interesting. Eric Pincus has his bold predictions. And these are Laker predictions that we get ready for free agency. What's going to happen here in the next, really, you could say 30 to 40 days or so. That's kind of crazy. In the next, 40 days, the roster is going to be set for next year, right? Like, it's not going to take that much longer than that. Usually by the time you get to Summer League starting, which I think this year is July 11th, that's it. It's a wrap. Everybody has signed. The trades have been made, all that stuff. So we're not far away from knowing what the roster is going to look like for next season. And if the Lakers will, be any closer to trying to not just make the postseason and win a round, but will there be an opportunity for them to actually make some noise? So I want to go over a couple of things here because I think this is interesting. Let me see if I can do this while we're doing it. How about this? Eric, do me a favor. Let's open up the article, and actually, you know what? I might be able to do it right here. I'm just going to have this here. I'll do it here. Don't worry about it. I'm going to have this here as we kind of get into the article. So it is Bleacher Report, and it is Eric Pincus, and there's some, whatever you want to call it, some bold predictions, however you want to describe it. Predictions, obviously, for the upcoming season for the Lakers. Okay, so LeBron is one of the predictions here. It's interesting because I had Pincus come on. He came on recently, but before that, it was basically right after the Lakers were eliminated. And there was a moment there that we were all kind of trying to look at, all right, what players are going to do this? Where are these players going to go? And how much should the Lakers offer Austin Reeves? I mean, just kind of the basic conversation we had right when the season ended. One thing he told me a couple weeks ago was, I think LeBron goes to the Golden State Warriors. I kind of didn't pay too much attention to it. It's like, okay, I think he's going to go back to the Lakers. Still today, if you ask me, where do I think LeBron's going to go? I would say I think he's still going to go or come back to the Lakers. So Pincus puts this thing out here. Look at his prediction that he's got right here. Okay, so on kind of that lower part here, here's his prediction. The predictions are Warriors sign James at $30.8 million over 2 years. So he's basically giving him 15 and some change per year. Gives him a player option in the second year, starting at the $15 million non-taxpayer mid-level exception. All right, and then he kind of goes on to some of the other stuff that he thinks the Warriors are going to do. But again, with LeBron, he's kind of standing firm in this. So this is a couple times now that Eric Pincus is predicting that, no, I don't think LeBron stays with the Lakers. I think LeBron ends up with the Golden State Warriors. We had a conversation about this yesterday. And part of our conversation, what we talked was, we had the conversation just simply of, hey, do you want to see LeBron come back? I mean, are you kind of ready for this thing to end? Is it a numbers game? Is it, no, let's just go fully and start that rebuild with LeBron? And I've said this before. I feel like there's a lot of Laker fans, the pulse that I get, that's basically like, hey, I'd be down to move on. I'd be all good with moving on. That's one of his predictions. Let's look at another prediction that he had. All right, here's Reeves. His prediction on Reeves. Lakers re-sign Reeves at $157 million over 4 years, starting at $35 million. Okay, his prediction on Austin Reeves. By the way, there is no prediction out there. None. And I know there's a lot of people that I get a lot of Laker fans that give their opinion and their thoughts about Austin Reeves, and not all of it is positive. I mean, let's all just be honest with each other for a quick second. Most of the response that I get in regards to Austin Reeves, a lot of it is, why are we this guy is going to cost too much. He's a cone on defense. Whatever everybody says, we kind of have an idea what Austin Reeves says. I will say, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I know this isn't going to be a surprise or a shock. They're going to re-sign Austin Reeves. The question is just going to be, what is his contract going to look like? I will say this contract, not terrible, right? 4 years, 157. I can live with that. You know, it's obviously not a 5-year deal. I think it just keeps him through his absolute prime, 27 to 31, something along those lines. I think Reeves is 27 right now. So I don't think that's awful. But I think it just kind of gives you an idea. All right, these are, again, two different things from Pincus's perspective that he's brought up on the show over the last couple of weeks, and these are his predictions. His prediction is, I think LeBron's going to end up with the Golden State Warriors. I think Austin Reeves will not sign a 5-year deal. I think he'll sign a 4-year deal and be in that 150 range. The only other prediction that I want to put on here, because he's been brought up around the Lakers, Jalen Duren of the Detroit Pistons. I think most people know this, especially because he's part of, what was he, third team, something like that. And I think that's raising all, pricing wise, that takes his contract up a lot higher. But his prediction on Jalen Duren is Pistons re-sign Duren at $200 million over 5 years, starting at $34.5 million. Jalen Duren, I don't think is going to be available. I don't think that's going to happen. And does this one have the Peyton Watson as well? Or is that something different? Let me find Peyton here. Yeah, I know Peyton's in here. Peyton Watson. And then his final prediction here on Peyton Watson. So these are a couple of names that have also been associated with the Lakers. Nuggets re-signed Watson to a $145 million deal over 5 years, starting at $25 million a year. They'll have to make some decisions with other players, Cam Johnson, Christian Brown, if they want to keep him. But the predictions, he thinks Jalen Duren staying with the Pistons. Peyton Watson staying with the Denver Nuggets. Austin Reeves re-signing with the Lakers, and LeBron James ending up with the Golden State Warriors. So wanted to kind of break down that article. It definitely has some different ties to not just the Lakers, but it also kind of goes into some of the different stuff that we've talked about here. Okay, I'll read some of the comments here. We'll get your thoughts and opinions. And I know this is going to probably jump everywhere. Some people are going to talk a little bit about the restricted free agents. Some people will hit on LeBron. Some people will hit on Austin Reeves. So you guys feel free to go wherever you guys want to go in regards to this topic. Before I do so, let's give some love to one of our partners, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Should be connecting with him soon here. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. If you, a family member or a friend, are in need of an injury attorney, do what a handful of people on this channel have done over the course of the last 2 years. Reach out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm first. Let Brad Wallace and his team see if they can help you. I can guarantee you this. Either they can help you or they will put you in the right hands to make sure that you're taken care of. He is a, how do I put this? A proud partner of the channel. I know he's had his own interest in trying to help out the channel, believes in what we're building here, and obviously with us independently right when I started. And as I've kind of tried to grow the channel, or I got the partnership with iHeart, or I got the partnership with AM 570, this guy was here before that and didn't really care. For him, he was like, no, I want to support the channel. I believe in what you're doing, and a big Laker fan. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. That's the website. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. Like I said, do what a handful of listeners have already done. They've either reached out to me, or they've reached out to Brad Wallace, or they've gone on that website. If we can help, please let us help you. Okay, let me read some of the comments here as we continue to break down, like I said, this article from Eric Pincus, and kind of how it ties to the Lakers and everything else. Let's take a look at some of the comments. Let's see what the people are saying here. Why would LeBron ruin his legacy by joining the biggest rival on a team he hated more than almost any? Is there anything LeBron can do at this stage of his career that you think would ruin his legacy? Guys, let me make something very clear here. There's nothing LeBron James can do at this stage of his career that's going to hurt his legacy. His legacy is done. It's already sketched. One of the greatest players to ever play the game. Won that championship in Cleveland. Got obviously a couple in Miami. Came to one of the most storied franchises in NBA history in the Los Angeles Lakers. One of the most popular brands. Won a championship here too. He's good. He's breaking every record that you can break. He's 23 years in the league. Most likely going to be 24 years in the NBA. There's nothing he could do to hurt his legacy. He can add to his legacy, but I don't think there's anything he can do to hurt his legacy. The legacy ain't changing if he joined the Warriors 23 years into the league. Bring back LeBron and have him as a sixth man. He'd be the best man of the year, best man, sixth man. Play him like 25 to 30 minutes during the regular season. Okay, that's maybe more a little bit of a conserving LeBron, I would say. Would LeBron take a role off the bench? I don't think he would. I think if LeBron was in his 25th year, but not at this stage if he's still playing the way he is. Under new management, I believe the Lakers won't mess around with LeBron's future. He either accepts their offer, 20 to 25 million, or he can go to the Warriors. You know, a weird way, I'd really respect that. I'd really respect if, new management kind of comes in. It's like, no, absolutely. Let's, LeBron's phenomenal. He's great. We want him back, but we got kind of a threshold that we're going to hit, and we're not going over that number. This is our number, and we're not going over it. And if that is the case, then, obviously, if that is the case in regards to what they're thinking, then I think it would establish kind of a whole new identity for the Lakers, where they're saying to themselves, yeah, this is our plan. And if you fit within that plan, great. If you don't, we completely understand, and maybe you should go look somewhere else. Still think he's going to come back. Reeves is coming back, people. Reeves has no impact on winning. Okay, get another one here. Zero faith that Rob will do anything significant. Going to be another wasted Luka year. If you told me I had to pick between the two, Lakers, it's an underwhelming offseason or it's an impressive offseason. And impressive can mean a number of different things. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but impressive could mean that they were just very active and they came up with some trades and they used their draft assets. Doesn't mean you're guaranteed to work. If I said, hey, pick one or the other, it's active or it's not active, I definitely lean towards active. I do think anytime, I think part of this has to do with new ownership. I think part of this has to do with Luka's timeline. I think they're going to be active. Now, whatever that means and whatever it looks like, I think they're going to be active. Brunson has OG, but Luka has Reeves. Isn't that interesting? Brunson and Luka were together at one point. All right, let's get a couple more in here. A couple more here on the Lake Show. LeBron would never come off the bench. Reeves and Luka are not required to play defense for some strange reason. They want Lakers to bring in defense for them. Well, I listen, I just think there's certain players that this is who they are. If a player shoots 30% from the field and all of a sudden, the coaches start saying you're required to shoot and hit threes. He's like, yeah, but I'm a 30% shooter. It doesn't mean it's going to change. And Reeves and Luka, of course, are required to play defense. But if you're depending on that backcourt defensively, you're obviously going to have a lot of trouble. People are so disrespectful to LeBron. I agree with that. I think there's definitely some of that. No question about it. I agree with that. And then there's other people that think LeBron's never made a mistake in his life. So I think there's, I wish there was a little bit more of a middle ground, but as of now, there definitely is not a middle ground in regards to that. All right. Let's keep going here. I want to keep going on some of these topics. All right, let me see just one more here. I hate the Spurs. Okay. All right. Everybody relax here for a second. Take a deep breath. His legacy is 4 championships in 23 years, 19 years of failure. That's his legacy. Like, I just want, what's happening when you're typing this? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? The guy's legacy has been the face of the NBA since he was 18 years old. The guy's legacy is box office for 23 years. He's still the face of the NBA. The guy's legacy is wins a championship in Cleveland, who hadn't won a chip in 50 years, and he's from Akron, Ohio. The guy's legacy is one of the greatest players to ever play the game. The guy's legacy is he can score, he can rebound, he's leading the NBA all-time scoring lead, and he's top 5 in assists. What do you mean, what is his legacy? Or his legacy is just 4 championships. Why do people hate so much? I listen. No ego. I know you've been on the channel for a long time, and I want you to keep commenting. I don't want to discourage anyone from commenting. But, brother, I don't know what you're talking about here. No idea what you're talking about here. The legacy is a lot more than that. All right, let's keep going here. Everyone relax, take a deep breath. Okay, all right. Let's stop quoting me here. All right, let's keep rolling here. A couple more articles I want to get into. Do me a favor, Eric. Let's get that LA Times article up, and let's just put it in the background there. And I want people to see what it says, because it's a conversation that we had yesterday, which I think is interesting in itself, right? Bill Plaschke, who has been a part of the LA Times for a long time, good dude. When I was in LA on a day-to-day basis, loved interacting with Bill Plaschke. I got a lot of respect for him. He's been in the, obviously in the industry for a long time. Here's Bill Plaschke specifically in the LA Times on LeBron. He says, Let me actually see this here. I want to pop it up on my screen too. So I got it on both sides. Here's what he says. He says, there is no right price for the Lakers and LeBron. He's still one of the best players in the game, and he'll demand to be paid like it, but the Lakers aren't going to want to pony up. Not for a third option, not for a 42-year-old consistent injury threat, and not for a guy who, if they give him what he wants, they'll have no chance to begin building what they want, which is a championship roster. Bring back LeBron James, ? Pass. So Bill Plaschke in the LA Times is basically saying, no, I'm good. And he's also saying I'm good at any price. No, I don't know if there's a price here that he would want to have him. I think there are more and more people that maybe have that sentiment. I think that's not a very unpopular opinion. I think that's actually an opinion that has played out pretty significantly in my from my perspective over the last couple of weeks. Listen, if you can get LeBron and you paid him $20 million, it's kind of a no-brainer. If you can get him $25 million, still kind of a no-brainer. But the question, I think, really what you're asking yourself is, are you just kicking the can down the road of when your actual future is going to start with Luka? And the answer is yes. I mean, if you bring LeBron back, even if you got him back at 15 million, 20 million, 25 million, you are essentially kicking the can down the road of saying we are properly building around Luka Doncic. But I also understand the urge to say, yeah, well, you know, LeBron's box office and LeBron's going to get you X amount of nationally televised games, and LeBron's still really good at his age, and you could still use LeBron's skill set. Like, there are also cases to make about why LeBron would obviously stay with the Lakers. So I don't need to spend too much time on that, on that specific topic. But I thought that Bill Plaschke was just almost exactly what we were talking about yesterday when we did the show yesterday, and kind of some of the things that we walked away with on that front. Okay, here's the last thing that I want to get into that's specific on the Lakers, and this is going to go to an article from Khobi Price, who's obviously been on this show a number of different times, doing the part of that California Post now. That's the what do you want to call it, branch from the New York Post. Now you got the California Post. So let me kind of give everyone a quick idea here, because he's talking about potential free agent targets for the Lakers. And I want to go through this, and as we go through them, you guys can comment and say, oh, I like this player. Oh, no, that player doesn't match, whatever the case is. So I'll go through kind of each one of these players, and we can go from there. If this thing is lined up well, we can go this player, that player, and all that. It's not. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'm just going to basically go through some of the different things that he said of some of the different players that he's talking about. Again, these are potential free agent targets for the Lakers. Potential free agent targets for the Lakers. First player he puts up there. And Eric, you know what might be a good thing to do is, as I go through one of the players, just put them up on Basketball Reference, and we could just kind of see their, some of their stats and everything else. You keep it small in that corner there. Robert Williams III. I want to know from Laker fans as I go through potential free agent targets. Like the idea? You don't like the idea? What would be the fit and everything else? Okay, Robert Williams III is the first player Khobi brings up in his article. We know his strengths. Like I think a lot of people obviously know what Robert Williams, what are his strengths? What does he bring to the table? What are his weaknesses? Let me tell you something I think of right out the gate when I think of Robert Williams. Immediately, first thing that comes to my mind, injuries. Eric, go down a little bit, and I think it will show how many games he's played in each season over these last handful of years. My concern, or the first thing I think of when I think of Robert Williams, is games played. So I'm looking at this right now. This is actually, obviously a great indication of why this is one of the first things that I think of. One of the reasons why it's the first thing I think of when I think of Robert Williams, guy's never healthy. I mean, would Laker fans be comfortable with a player that has had this type of injury history? Look, I think Robert Williams has some good characteristics. Like there are some things that I think he could bring to the table for the Lakers. He's a rim runner. He's a lob threat. I think he's a good defensive player. He's got high energy, all that stuff. My concern for Robert Williams III is, can you depend on him? I don't think you can. I just don't think those, games played, I could depend on a player like that. Okay, let's keep going down the list, and we'll kind of change these out here, and Eric can change it as we go. All right, here's another player, Mitchell Robinson, who's obviously right in the heart of the postseason as we speak, and a part of the NBA Finals, and playing kind of a dog, if I think we could all agree with that. Just an absolute dog. I don't think anybody kind of Mitchell Robinson, a player that it doesn't matter what the injury is, it doesn't matter what exactly is going on. The dude is a dog. Played in 60 games. Most games he's played since 2021, 2022. So something to keep in mind in regards to Mitchell Robinson. Stats for the year: 6 points a game, 8.5 rebounds, almost 9 rebounds, plays about 19 minutes a game. The Lakers are looking for a starting center for the future. Does Mitchell Robinson sound like a starting center to you for the future? Doesn't mean he can't be good for the Lakers, short term. Doesn't mean he can't help the Lakers. I mean, in an ideal world, Mitchell Robinson, you're kind of using them a little bit more strategically. Certain teams, certain times of the game, you want Mitchell Robinson in. But is that your starting center? What was he? Second round pick in 2018. Obviously, the Knicks, and there's going to be, obviously some teams, including the Knicks, that are going to want to try to bring him back because I think he's been a nice piece for them. There's an example on Mitchell Robinson. Next player we'll get into. This one is very interesting to me. Very interesting to me because he was a Laker. Jordan Goodwin. Isn't that kind of crazy? Jordan Goodwin. Now I understand. I know Jordan Goodwin, the Lakers lost him primarily because they were going to sign Marcus Smart. This is another player that Khobi Price has in his article here as far as free agents that the Lakers can go after. I'll read this excerpt from him on Jordan Goodwin. The Lakers know as well as any team the kind of impact Goodwin provides. He was a key part of the Lakers' rotation to close the 2024-2025 season, showcasing his offensive rebounding talent, disruptive perimeter defense, and improved three-point shooting. Goodwin is in line to receive a more lucrative offer after making just $2.3 million. Jordan Goodwin's another player that was on that list. And then we don't have to get the last one in either. We don't have to put some stats on him. But Keon Ellis was the last player that he had on that list. Look, all of these players could be nice additions, but they're all really small pieces to what you really need big picture for the Lakers. And I think all these guys can help. I think Goodwin on your team, you're a better team. I think Robert Williams III, if he's healthy, you're a better team. Mitchell Robinson, you're a better team. I like some of these players. I'm not saying that I don't like them. Keon Ellis obviously has some value. But none of these players, if you guys agree with me, kind of jump out as like, oh my gosh, this is going to change all the fortunes for the Lakers. All right. I'll take a look at some of your comments and get some of your thoughts here in regards to that. Okay, let's see what we have here. I vote no on Williams. I wish it was that easy that we could just take a vote and then it's up to us. I appreciate the vote. Thank you very much for the vote. Robert Williams is a lob threat with high motor needed. Okay. Love Robert Williams. Okay. Already, let me see what we got here. Yeah, already, obviously, a few Robert Williams love there. Don't waste your money on these players. Keon and Goodwin, Smart, Marcus is old and will be injury prone. 3 and D, it's simple. Yeah, by the way, that is a good point. None of those on that list were basically your ideal 3 and D player. Slee, you can't have it both ways. If this is Luka's team, let it be Luka's team. No more LeBron and his son taking up a roster spot. Time to turn the page on this chapter. What do you guys think? 80% of the people on this channel, probably 80% of Laker fans as well. And I think probably the same number, 80%, on how they're not crazy about Austin Reeves. So I think you probably got a good 70 to 80% of the audience here, which I think is a good, measurement for Laker fans that are obviously very passionate about Lakers basketball. I think that's probably a good measurement of fans that would prefer to just start chapter with Luka, and then fans that are very, very weary of Austin Reeves. Mitchell Robinson is a lateral move from Ayton. Slee, why can't the Lakers just get Giannis? Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. Very, very good question. The Giannis thing we'll get into in just a second, and not even really more for me for the Lakers, but some other stuff that had come out around Giannis. Ellis got benched on a team getting swept in the playoffs. That's a good point. Keon Ellis did. But was it Keon Ellis's fault? I mean, Keon Ellis is just supposed to play a role. I mean, it's not obviously it's a different scenario. Rob Owens is a guy you have to save for the playoffs. He's not a 30-minute a night regular season guy. It's a good point. Beggars can't be choosers. A franchise center is walking through that door. I don't think you tell me when that franchise center comes, and I think the Lakers then have a legitimate chance to make some noise. But they're going to need a franchise center in order for that to happen. They're definitely going to need a franchise center in order for that to happen. Okay. Keep going here. Again, appreciate just kind of going through a few different topics over the course of the last couple of days, and, kind of trying to weave in and out of the NBA Finals, and then also some of these different Lakers topics that we have. A lot of them are LeBron. I want to do this here, and I'm not crazy about spending too much time on the Giannis front, but there's two things that I want to do here. I'm not going to do the Giannis Laker ideas because I just don't think they're happening. And I think every time I see a Laker trade proposal, I almost feel like they have to sell 15% of the Lakers as well on top of to try to get Giannis, because Reeves ain't getting you Giannis unless Giannis is just demanding he wants to be a Los Angeles Laker. And I don't think there's any indications that that's the case. But I am going to show you guys. I know we got the article. Do we have that tweet, Eric? The tweet that just kind of summarized some of the interest and everything else? All right. I'm going to try to see if you can. If Eric, put it up on Twitter, you'll find it. Just type in Giannis and the Celtics. So there was an article by Jay King in The Athletic. And the Giannis conversation we've had for a while. And the Giannis, I would have told you that if I was the Milwaukee Bucks. We all knew Giannis was going to eventually leave the Milwaukee Bucks. I would have traded him a year ago. That's what I would have done. I would have last summer, when I knew I still had 2 years left on his contract, I could have got a lot of teams involved. I could have had a bidding war everywhere, and nobody loses on the trading Giannis. They just don't. Giannis has, you did everything you can for Giannis. What you did was just dug yourself a deeper and deeper hole. It's like you keep running your credit card. You don't even have money to spend, and it's just you're looking back and you're like, I'm digging myself deeper and deeper of a hole. You won an NBA championship with Giannis Antetokounmpo. You hadn't won a championship with the Bucks since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won you a championship back in the 70s. So mission accomplished. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm sure everyone would take that trade off with Giannis. The latest that I'm seeing here, and I think this is probably one of the more interesting ones that I've seen, and we'll see if this, means anything else. But I'm going to read this excerpt from The Athletic. While league sources have long maintained that he's interested in joining the Heat, obviously talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo, there's also indications that he's very intrigued with the prospect of joining a Celtics team that may, by any objective measure, deeper and more dynamic than Miami, and could thus remain more competitive after a blockbuster deal. And again, Giannis Antetokounmpo's focus on getting back to title contention should not be overlooked. So looks like the Boston Celtics may be in the mix here for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Hypothetically, I mean, I've said this before, and I don't know why, and I don't know what the dynamic is with Jaylen Brown and the Boston Celtics, but I feel like Jaylen Brown's name gets thrown around. I think Jaylen Brown is a freaking stud, maybe even one of the more underrated players in the NBA, if I'm being honest with you. But the latest that we saw in Giannis is that he could end up, and there's articles trying to link him to the Lakers. I'm just not going to link him to the Lakers until I hear Giannis say, I want to be a Laker. I'm not going to waste my time with it. But there is a piece of Giannis Antetokounmpo that is looking at a couple of different teams, and apparently the Boston Celtics is one of those teams. By the way, that's also if you are the New York Knicks, that's why it's so important right now for them to try to cash in a championship, because you just never know what happens moving forward. All right, let's look at a couple more here. Let's see what we got here on a couple different topics. Teams have better offers for Giannis. Let Reeves walk, sign Braun to midi fill roster, best move for the next 5 years. Can't let Reeves walk, guys. You just can't do it. You cannot let Reeves walk. That ain't going to happen. I highly doubt Giannis becomes a Laker. Yeah, it ain't happening. I just, again, like that's why there's certain things, I don't want to just sit here and try to BS you guys unless I actually thought it was going to happen or there was, some momentum towards that. I don't think there's momentum towards that. All right, let's get into some NBA news, and then we're going to call it a day. Just a quick heads up here, and we'll give everyone just a quick reminder for tomorrow. So tomorrow, 9:30, we'll do a member show. Working on Bobby Marks for tomorrow. I'll keep you guys posted on what happens there. But trying to get Bobby Marks as the guest tomorrow. Talk a little Lakers, talk a little NBA, and hit on everything. Okay. NBA news. So Adam Silver yesterday had his kind of state of the NBA and went into everything. I think the three major things that he talked about expansion, talked about the Clippers investigation, which he looks stupid every time, if I'm being honest with you. And he talked a little bit about tanking and about the new draft lottery reform. Yeah, I don't know what's kind of happened with Adam Silver, but I feel like I think maybe if you asked me a couple years ago, I'd be like, oh, no, I think he's got everything under control. I don't know. There's more stuff now that I'm like, what are they thinking here? Real quick on the expansion. Just real quick on this. Discussions are ongoing. As I think everyone knows at this point, we are focused on Las Vegas and Seattle. There are multiple groups interested in both cities. We are in discussions with them. The timeline is, as I've said before, it's not a foregone conclusion that we will expand either in one or both cities. But what we have told all interested parties, our anticipation is our board of governors will make a decision by the end of the calendar year. Yeah, listen, I don't know if I am dying for a team in Vegas. I'm good on that. It just doesn't do anything for me. But I want a team back in Seattle. Just as kind of like an NBA fan, Seattle deserves to have an NBA team. They were a really, really good basketball market, and growing up, obviously a Laker fan, and you had the Sonics and the Blazers and the Lakers, and you had like all these teams on this West Coast. Sonics was just a phenomenal place. So I hope that eventually happens. Adam Silver on the Clippers investigation. All he really said is that it needs to wrap up soon. He says that's presented to me. It's then ultimately my role to determine what the appropriate discipline, if any, should be meted out based on their findings. And I know earlier in this, he just said that they got to wrap this thing up soon. Do I think anything's going to happen to the Clippers? I don't. Last thing Adam Silver said, and we'll read a couple of comments, we'll call it a day, on the tanking stuff. He said, tanking is not a new issue in this league. What surprised us is how quickly it became acceptable behavior in this league. It used to be limited to a small group of teams. I think at one point I could genuinely stand up and say rebuilding and not say tanking. It was practiced in a different way. I don't know how else to say it. So he thinks this kind of happened a little bit more overnight. I think a lot of people would disagree with that. I was listening a little bit earlier today. This morning I was listening to NBA Sirius XM, and they played, I think, some of that with Adam Silver, and I think a lot of them disagree that tanking is just kind of started. That tanking has been around for a long time. All right, a couple of your comments. See what you guys got here. Should be a Vancouver and Seattle would create an instant rivalry as well. That'd be cool. I'd be all right with that. Yeah, I don't know. The Vegas thing just doesn't do anything for me. Just doesn't. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't. Now, they're probably going to be the one that gets a team, and they're going to be a city that went from no professional teams to, I think what are they going to have? They'll have all 4 major sports, and they'll probably have done that within a 10-year span. Freaking impressive. Hell no on Robert Williams, no on Mitchell Robertson. Jordan Goodwin, yes. Keon Ellis, no. Adam Silver has been an awful commissioner on the basketball side of things, has been ahead of most leagues on the business side of things. Yeah, I think their last TV deal is $77 billion. Expansion, I don't want to see more teams enough already. Do you want a team in SD? San Diego needs to build a freaking stadium for them to get anything. So, you know what I think actually is a good sleeper market for SD? NHL. I think they would do really, really good with an NHL team. But they need a stadium. That's what they need. All right, last one here. They don't need to expand the league. Just move Sacramento and Memphis. I get it. Feel bad for those markets. I mean, I've seen teams get uprooted and leave a city, and that shit's tough when you got a squad that's been in a city for a long time. All right, that is all we got for today. Solid show, everybody. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Tomorrow, back at 8 a.m., like I said, we're working on Bobby Marks, and I'll have some fresh Laker topics for everybody. We'll talk a little bit about Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Appreciate all the comments. Thank you to Eric Scalar. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.